Hello everyone, I'm in Kihunguro area, which is one of the neighborhoods in Ruiru Town, and today I want to explore the beautiful town of Ruiru, which in fact is the fourth largest urban center in Kenya. In fact, it is much bigger than some of the cities in the country, which is mostly in terms of population, and we want to see whether this dominance is evident in other areas such as industrialization and infrastructures. To me, that was quite shocking. I never knew that there were some towns in the country that were much bigger than some cities, and yet they were not interested in joining the small list of cities in Kenya. In fact, there are only 5. I am cruising along Thika Super Highway, and I'll be hitting our town in less than a minute. Nairobi City, which is the capital city of Kenya and the biggest city in East and Central Africa, is only 20 kilometers behind me. And this road goes all the way to Mount Kenya, the second tallest mountain in Africa, and it is also the main road to Ethiopia. But I'll be branching off to get to Ruiru Town, which is about 500 meters from the highway, which seems like it was the tradition back then, where most towns, especially along Thika Road, were designed to be in the interior, but not along the road. A good example is Thika, which you can easily pass by without even knowing that you are passing a big town in the country, especially if you are not familiar with the route. Our town of the day is in vicinity, but before we get there, let me take this opportunity to welcome you to our YouTube channel, Village to Town, a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns and cities across the continent of Africa. We are dedicated to visit every part of this continent, but we are starting with the 290 constituencies in Kenya. And so far so good, we have covered some in Kiambu and Nairobi counties. The good thing is that we are just starting, and so if you have an interest of exploring all the interior parts of this country, this is the channel for you. Kindly consider subscribing so that we'll visit and document all the villages and towns in this country together. Now back to our video, and as you can see, it is in the afternoon and the rainy season is here. Sometimes it gets messy, especially in the neighborhoods around Ruiru Town, as flooding is a common issue here, especially due to the fact that the area is quite flat and the black cotton soil is common, and sometimes traffic jams can get quite crazy, especially toward the evening, since everyone is trying to get into the town from work, as most people here work in Nairobi City but resides in Ruiru due to some factors such as high living standards and low cost of living, especially when compared to Nairobi City, which is a bit expensive. The road we just joined goes all the way to Kiambu town, which is one of the biggest towns in Kiambu County. In fact, it is the county headquarters, and it is only 17 kilometers from here. And that reminds me that we just visited the town the other day, and therefore you can check the video later on this channel. But for now, let's see what Ruiru Town has to offer. I want to veer off from this main road so that I can get to the town center and see how is everything and whether or not the town is worth its name, since the town is quite popular across the country, as it is home to some of the biggest government institutions. In fact, the police training college for prison officers is here. Kenyatta University, which is one of the biggest institutions in the country, is also in the locality, which is also the case with Zitech University and Nairobi Institute of Business Studies, NIBS. And as you can see, the town is quite busy. All types of activities are taking place here. You also expect to see all forms of modern businesses, from banks to bakeries to other financial institutions such as insurance agencies. The town got its name from a nearby river, which goes by the name Ruiru River. This is a Kikuyu name that means blackish, probably due to the fact that the river has a lot of black volcanic stones. There is another theory about the source of the name, and that is it comes from the black volcanic soil, which is the most common types of soil in the area. and therefore I would love to know your input on what makes more sense between the two sources, the swell or the river. And if you come from this area or you are quite familiar with the town's history, kindly tell us on the comment section where the town's got its name. The town's main bus stop is on the right, and that's why this particular place is quite busy, especially when compared to other streets that we have just visited. The road is not that nice. Of course, it needs recarpeting to ensure the town is worth its status. Of course, being the fourth biggest town in the country is not a small feat. You can see some public transport vans on both sides of the road, which are referred to as Matatus here in the country. They go to almost all parts of the interior Kiambu County from here. For instance, you can go to Thika, Kiambu, Gatundu, Githunguri, and you can easily get to Nairobi City. The guy in front of me just stopped in the middle of the road for no good reason, just to have a chat with a friend on the other side of the road. He doesn't care whether or not he is causing problems behind him, but that is not a big case. I'm told this is Africa, and Africa is our business. We are used to more chaotic impunities. I want to drive briefly in this direction so that I can see what the town has to offer. This road goes all the way to Githunguri town. It also connects to Nairobi-Nakuru highway at a point called Nyambari around Uplands. It is just a small town before you get to the famous viewpoint, if you are quite familiar with that route. And it seems like the town is extending this way, meaning that it is still expanding. It is also good to know that Ruiru is home to some of the proposed modern urban centers in the country. For instance, Tatu City is around the corner. Also the famous Northlands City, which is currently underway in the vast President Kenyatta's estate, is around this town. In fact, it is estimated to cost the Kenyatta's family around 500 billion Kenya shillings, a crazy amount that will of course impact the local's economy significantly. Tatu City, on the other hand, is a government flagship project that has been underway since President Kibaki's era. Ruiru also serves as a constituency in Kiambu County. In fact, it is one of the 290 constituencies in the country. Let me quickly give you the numbers so that you can get the right picture about this place. And as of 2019 general census, Ruiru had a population of 371,000 people, which was a significant increase from 201,000 people 10 years earlier in 2009. And this tells you that the area is one of the most populous in the country. In fact, the constituency will qualify to be a county if population was anything to go by. Currently, the United Nations World Urbanization Prospects estimate that Ruiru population stand at 464,578 people, and it is expected to increase at a rate of 6.3%. And so in future the population is expected to continue growing. In fact, it is expected to hit its peak in 2035, where it will hit the 700,000 mark. And one thing that really caught my attention about this population is that the area had a population of 676 people in 1950. In fact, in the 1950s, 60s, 70s and 80s, the area was a sisal plantation, which was home to only few workers. But this has changed significantly, and let's check the gender distribution, where 51.2% of the population are female, while 48.8% are males. Well, this is quite normal. There is no cause for alarm in this case, but there is one issue that really caught my attention as far as the statistics are concerned, and that is the issue of age distribution. Well, the numbers are quite alarming, as out of the 464,000 people, which is close to 500,000, only 4,500 people are aged 65 years and above, and the number continues to shrink as you go up. For instance, there are only 181 people that are aged 90 and above, while in the age group of 18 to 89 consists of only 498 people. This means that meeting an elderly person in Ruiru is quite rare, which is an area that needs more research. I don't want to speculate more on that, since there are a lot of questions arising from the issue. Like for instance, I would really love to know whether the low elderly population is a result of urban-rural migration, where most old people feels like they cannot cope with the hassles and bustles in the city, and instead they prefer leading a quiet life in the village. I would also want to know whether early death rate is the issue, since the leading cause of the declining elderly population is not clear. I want to turn right and take a look at the administrative area. Remember, there is a lot of government offices in the town. There is also a local high school in the vicinity, which is Ruiru Boys. And one positive thing that has really caught my attention about the town is the tree cover rate. There is a lot of trees all over. It seems like the local leaders are quite environmental conscious. I want to give you the list of cities and towns in Kenya by population, so that you can see how Ruiru Town is ranking. And as you can see, number 1 is Nairobi City, which serves as the capital city and the biggest city in East and Central Africa, and has a population of 5.4 million people, while the coastal city of Mombasa ranks second with a population of 1.2 million people. Nakuru City, which acquired the city status only a few years ago, is number 3 with 570,000 people, and Ruiru is in the 4th position with 490,000 people. Other towns behind Ruiru are Eldoret, Kisumu, Kikuyu, Ngong, Mavoko, and Thika respectively. Well, it seems like Kiambu County has the lion's share of counties with the biggest towns in the country, despite not having a single city in the area. Another statistics that I found to be quite interesting about the area is the highest level of education attained by the residents, as those with university degrees were 46,081 people. Remember, I told you earlier the neighborhood has a lot of universities, including Kenyatta and ZTech universities, and that's why there is a lot of graduates in the town, especially when compared to other sub-counties in the country. For example, Thika East had only 775 university graduates only. Well, that was quite low, considering that it is in Kiambu County, where Ruiru, which is also in the same county, had more than 29,000 people. It is also good to note that out of the 29,000 graduates in Ruiru, 16,806 were men, while only 12,976 were women. There is quite a big gender gap there, as there are almost 4,000 more men with university degrees than women. And it is also good to note that those who considered high school as their highest level of education completed were 113,000 people, while those with primary school certificates only were 103,000 people. However, 23,000 people had no formal education. Now let's go to the real estate segment. I know most of you are waiting for it, especially for potential investors and those who are planning to move in. And the fact that this is an urban area means that some people own home, but a majority of people prefer renting. For instance, according to the numbers, out of the 129,000 households in this area, only 20,435 own houses, which is only 16% of the population, while 107,000 households pay rent. Well, this is 84% of the total population, meaning almost everyone here is a tenant. Well, this is some good news, especially for investors. It means that investing in rental apartment is a lucrative venture, and to get a 2-bedroom apartment, you need between 20 and 30,000 Kenya shillings, while a 1-bedroom apartment goes between 12,000 and 15,000 Kenya shillings, and a good studio apartment goes from 8,000 Kenya shillings depending on its location and its close proximity to the tarmac, and of course your negotiation skills. I'm sure that you also want to know how the 16% that lives in their own houses in Ruiru acquired those homes. And the good news is that the Kenya Bureau of Statistics provides all this data, and it states that 1,200 households, which is 5.9%, purchased ready-made houses, while 17,344, which is 84.9%, constructed their own homes. This is where you buy a piece of land or you inherit one and you get involved in the dirty work of purchasing all the material and dealing with construction workers, which is quite tedious but very rewarding since it saves you a lot of money, as buying a ready-made home is quite expensive. And the Bureau of Statistics stated that 9.2% inherited their homes. Well, this comprised of 1,887 households, which is quite a low number. In fact, it is one of the lowest in Kiambu County, as some sub-counties such as Limuru and Kabete had almost 3,000 households each inheriting homes. The gap is quite huge, despite the fact that Ruiru has more people, so it is expected that most people should have inherited homes than in Limuru, for instance, which has lower population. Well, this data can be interpreted in two ways. One, it might mean that most homeowners in Ruiru are hustlers or new money, and they are striving to create generational wealth as there is nothing to inherit from their parents. And two, the data might mean that there is a lot of old money in areas such as Limuru, which is being passed down generations in form of houses and other forms of inheritance, which is not the case for Ruiru. Please continue watching the scenic video until the end, and please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, Village to Town, a channel that is dedicated to continue showcasing beautiful villages, towns, and cities across the continent of Africa. Please consider liking the video so that it can be recommended to as many people as possible. Smash the notification bell so that every time we post, you will be among the first few people to be notified. Also keep the conversation going. Tell us, what do you think about Ruiru Town? Will you consider moving in here? And also tell us the places you think we should visit next down in the comment section below. Thank you.